So welcome everyone. Good morning. Wherever wherever you're actually joining us from. So welcome to today's event, which marks the launch of our latest publication, titled "Exploring Gender in the African Classroom." As you may recall, last year we had we worked with a number of fantastic teachers and teacher educators from Ethiopia, Sudan, Nigeria, and Senegal. And they carried out action research projects focused on studying gender dynamics in the classroom. So today marks the official launch of their publication, which contains the valuable insights that they collected in their report. So this one-day event will provide you with a unique opportunity to sort of immerse yourself in the world of classroom action research and learn a bit more about the projects of the teachers and teacher educators who contributed to this publication, but also with their mentors who also supported them on their journey as teachers, researchers. So feel free to introduce yourself in the chat and tell us where you are joining us from. So in the screen, I've just shared a few Q&A, a few housekeeping items. So please use the chat for comments only, and use the Q&A to ask the presenters question. So at the end of each of the 3 sessions today, we'll use the Q&A for, we actually send an editable PDF certificate, which you can download using a link that we'll be sharing. And the recording of each of the 3 sessions will also be available on the Teach English Africa website. So we'll kick off with the first session, introducing classroom action research. And then this session will be structured around the booklet available online from Richard Smith and Paula Rebolero. So in terms of background, as I said earlier, so we have 3 workshops today. Unfortunately, Gary is not feeling well, so I'm actually taking over from him. But we have 15 panelists, which are teachers, teacher researchers, but also mentors from the classroom action research project that we developed last year. So as you can see, they coming back today to share the expertise, to share highlights about their research projects, and take you through the different phases of their research. So, Sarah, is Sarah around?
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk about the background to the project. There will be 3 workshops that was supposed to be led by Dr. Gary. He's unfortunately absent, so I will be taking a few of that, and then we'll be talking about the classroom action research in Sub-Saharan Africa. The group of panelists are 15 in number. We're all going to be taking a different parts. And we'll be talking about how the English Connect Action Research Project was started in 2021. And then with the research is supposed to support mentors in Sub-Saharan Africa to carry out their own research projects in their classroom. I said last year, we worked closely with fantastic teachers and teacher educators from Ethiopia, Sudan, Nigeria, and Senegal to carry out our own research project that is focused on studying gender dynamics in their various classrooms. And so these teachers or teacher researchers were trained by Paula Reboledo, and they were mentored by 3 mentors, Maya Sadiq, Mohammed from Sudan, Sarah Balogu, myself from Nigeria, and Aliyah Sen from Ethiopia. The 3 of us were previous classroom action research from the previous section, the previous year. And our publication is titled Learning from the African Classroom. Steve, maybe you can put the link on the chat box so that those who would like to read it would click on it and download it. It's right there on the screen. And so this year, we'll be talking about exploring gender in the African classroom. And these teacher researchers are set to drill us on how they carry out this action research, what they had to do, how they had to explore, and we'll be listening to all of them. So we'll be kicking it off by starting with the concept of research. What is it? So Olatunde Ojerinde will be taking this and is one of the teacher researchers from Nigeria. So Olatunde, please.
Thanks. Thanks, Sarah, for the kind introduction. So over to you, Olatunde. You're actually on mute. Could you please unmute?
Oh, okay. I think I'm on now, right?
Yes. Please go ahead.
So we are looking at research and what it means. So basically, I want everyone to use the chat board and put your opinion of what you think about research. The word research, you've heard that before, you've used it before. I don't mean precisely any complex definition, but when you hear the word research, what comes to mind? This is what I just wanted to put in the chat box. So research is a word we use every time. Yeah, it means looking for something like project. Okay.
So we're getting a few answers from the
chat. Yes, trying to find out more information about a particular topic. That's a good one. Now, research is simply outing ideas into reality. That's also a good one. It's a way of looking for knowledge. Okay. Joy, to me, research is finding deeper meaning to topics. Okay. Inquiry. Okay. So basically, we all have ideas of what research means. However, what we want to add to what we already know is just to let us know that research is not usually or always complex. You think about every day, what you do every day at home or anywhere, asking questions, taking steps when you want to find out something, just because you want to know or just because you want to add to what you already know. These are basically steps or ideas about research. But when we say research in education, what we do is just to take it a bit further and look at it in a different way that is slightly not the same as what we do every day, seeking answers or looking for information. So basically, we'll say that research in education will suggest that, okay, we are looking for answers to questions, agreed. However, how do we look for those answers? We are looking for answers to questions in a systematic way. By systematic way, we mean there's a process that we take in the course of discovering that particular new information that we are talking about. So when you want to know, you want to find out about knowledge, you want to acquire more information, more knowledge, you ask those questions and you take certain steps to them. So basically, what makes research different is that different forms of discovering knowledge requires that you take systematic steps. This is what we call the research process. And that is what scholars will call scientific method. Now, why we have taken it this way is just to let you know that research is not something that is complicated. It is not something that is complex, and it is not something that should scare anyone off. Now, the idea of scientific research, it brings to mind several things that are component of the entire system or the entire process. So basically, you look at your each day, your everyday, you look around you, you find something that is unusual, that is a kind of observation. Then when you observe, definitely you ask questions. Then asking questions, you have what you search for literature, which means you try to read, you try to find out more about the questions or what you have observed. Then there is hypothesis, the experiment, you collect data as well. You come to a conclusion. These are the basic processes. Then after that, after coming to a conclusion, you want to share your results, you want to share your ideas, you want to share your discovery about what you have done with other people. Then after doing this, the essence of researching, the essence of looking for information is to share and as well affect other human activities. That is when we talk about developing interventions. Oh, I've looked at this particular thing. Oh, this way of teaching, I've considered it this way. And I think I have a new idea. So you want to share that new idea, not just with people. Then you also develop interventions, ideas and new ways, new system that is going to affect the system or what you are doing differently. And of course, after doing this, you ask questions again. That is why research is a cycle. It's unending. It continues. So when you begin with observation, you ask the questions, you search for literature, you have your hypothesis, you've gone ahead to experiment, you've gone ahead to collect your data and all that. Having come to your conclusion, you've shared your ideas with other people. At the same time, you've developed intervention based on what you have been able to find out. Then there will always be questions again. And particularly for anyone who is in education, this is the only system, this is the only way we are able to evolve system time after time. This is the only way we are able to make progress in education. We are able to affect the learners, the teachers, the whole school system all the time. So as teachers and teacher educators, or as education managers and administrators, research is something that we must continue to do. We must continually get ourselves involved in, not because of anything, but because that is the main driver of what we do as educators. So basically, there is nothing special about research. And this is the idea that we have. And this is the idea that we must all have. So I will pass it on to Kikeloma Adeniyi to talk more about reflective practices.
Hello. I want to be able to have what research is, and I want to see another basic component of action research, which we call reflective practice. Can we get your views in the chat box for the question, what is reflective practice? So let's get responses from the audience.
Yeah, we start to get a few responses from the audience so far in the chat.
What is reflective practice? Self-evaluation, beautiful. Evaluate yourself. Yeah, more responses. Yeah, self-evaluation. Okay. Methods that help individuals in group to reflect on their experiences. Beautiful. Getting feedback from your peer. Excellent. Self-examination. Professional introspection, thinking over what you've done, criticism of one's teaching, self-evaluation, feedback from others, excellent. Which means I can as well step aside and allow you people to teach us this morning. Now, one thing we must realize about life is that we want to make things better. And then to make things better, we think over the actions we've made. We think over the choices taken. We think over outcomes observed. And we think over the impact of what we've done on our participants. Now, one thing about life is that even if you don't research, you don't just end there. We want to reflect. And reflection deals with critically analyzing and evaluating your actions and experiences. You do that critically so as to have an improvement on what has been done. Reflection is thinking over, ruminating over what you have done. You may want to think about your title. Can you make it better? Can it be catchy? Can it be more apt? You may want to reflect on even your method of data collection. You may reflect on your questions, your research questions. After you've done the reflection, you now want to do analysis. And of course, when you are reflecting, you want to discuss with your team group. You want to discuss with those that you maybe did the research together. For example, while I was working on my own research, I had to discuss with my colleagues. I had to rub minds with them so as to learn better, so as to improve on what I did. I also went ahead to discuss with stakeholders. I discussed with some of the teachers in the school, in the system, because I wanted to know the effect of gender on the choice of words. So, do an analysis of the task, do an analysis of what you've done, so as to have an improvement. You know, like I said earlier on, no matter what you have done initially, you want to see the possibility of improving. And that is when reflective practice comes in. You want to do that systematically. That is, don't do it in a haphazard manner. One other thing that also helps you to ensure reflective practice is that you may keep
it seems you're actually connecting from more than one laptop in the same room. So maybe if one of the other laptops can actually go on mute. Oh, there you go. Thanks. Yeah, these are the some of the challenges that we face when we deliver these online events. But thanks, Ikolomo, for your contribution so far. I think we'll if you're ready, we can actually maybe move on to the next bit of your presentation. Can you hear me, Ikolomo? Hello. Yeah, so the last bit, yeah, so
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, we have some scholars that are written about reflective practice. For example, Scon said that when you are reflecting, you want to think about knowing in action, that is, being able to fully understand your research topic to gain insight into it. You describe what we know and what we do in a particular situation. Then reflective practice also entails reflection in action, ability to think about what we are doing. For example, my research is on gender differences, on choice of words. So I was able to reflect on what I did. I was able to look at some of my research questions. In fact, at a stage, I had to remove one because it was just a repetition. And also, I was also able to interact with my colleagues, improve on that research to make it better, such that it will be more realistic and it will also contribute to knowledge. Then another aspect of reflective practice, according to SCORN, is reflection on action. That is the ability to stand apart, ability to think about what you did. After you've done that, you realize that you'll be able to contribute more and then better to knowledge. Hobbes' model also talks about reflective practice. That when you are doing reflective practice, you want to think about the experience you have. You want to review what you have done. You want to reflect, you want to think over the experience. You want to conclude and not just conclude haphazardly. And apart from that, you want to plan in such a way that what you've been able to achieve is relevant, it's ethical, and it is highly impactful. Thank you.
Thanks, Ikeromo. Thanks so much for the contribution. So we're moving on to Sarah and Shidat for the next bit about the characteristics of action research. Over to you.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning, everyone. Sarah and I are going to be talking about action research. So we have heard about what research is. We've heard about reflective practice, and these are very important components. We'd like to hear your views or read your views. Can you please put in the chat what you understand by the term action research and what you think some of the characteristics of action research are? So we'll be waiting for your comments in the chat, please. Maybe we should just think of what action could be.
Patience is putting up her hand. Can you just put your views in the chat, please?
Yes, we start to see some comments. Some comments.
The problem, thank you. Focuses on solving a problem. Real problems in the classroom. Thank you, Naima. Thank you, everyone. We want more coming in. Problem solving, practical. Okay, so I think we're having a mix of the characteristics and the definition. Good job, everyone. Yes, thank you. So Sarah is going to go ahead to give us some of the definitions.
All right, according to Stringer, 1999, it defines action research as a collaborative approach to inquiry or investigation that provides people with the means to take systematic action to resolve specific problems. According to Okoth and Simiyu, 2017, they define action research as a type of research that allows teachers to engage in collaborative actions that will lead to their understanding of the practice, while at the same time developing themselves professionally. So when we talk about action research, we are looking at one of the key features is that it's not just the researcher that is involved. The people for which he or she is carrying out the research are also involved in the research. Then the colleagues at work, probably those that they are in the same profession together, are also involved in the research as well. This is why it is called a collaborative research. So somebody said the research, okay. The action research is identifying a problem, challenge, indulge in research collaboratively to solve the problem, overcome the challenge. That is beautiful. It's just like having a problem in the classroom. Probably your students cannot read, and then you feel, why are they not able to read? This is the reflective practice that was just spoken about. You reflect on the problem, then you carry out, you create a plan for this problem, and then you try as much as possible to involve those we are working with to also help you look at the problem and to observe if there's anything you can do about it. And then you carry out an action to solve this problem, carrying your colleagues along as well. Now, this is what action research is. So Rashidat is going to talk about some of the
characteristics of action research.
Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for all of your points. They are so pertinent. Someone mentioned questioning what is happening. Questioning is a very big part of action research, and then taking action, like Sarah also mentioned. So what are the characteristics? Action research is situation-based. So we have 7 researchers in the room with me, and each of us had different research topics because we're in different settings, we're in different contexts. I had my research based in a primary school setting. We have people that worked in secondary schools, those that worked in colleges of education. So action research is always based on the situation that you're in. So it's something for every teacher out there. You don't have to be an academic. You can involve yourself in action research. It's also participatory. Sarah did mention that it involves you, the researcher. You know, normally what we know about research is that you do your questionnaires or your surveys, and you're outside the equation. You're not part of the research. But as action research, you're involved. You're the teacher in the classroom. So it involves you, the researcher, and other stakeholders, your learners, and any other person that you feel may have an impact on what it is you're researching, on the problem. A lot of people talked about problem based and problem solving. It's data driven. So a lot of us have a lot of notions as teachers. I've been teaching for over 10 years. I had a few notions before I did my research. And by the end of the research, when I had the solid data in my hands, I realized that there were a number of misconceptions. So the beautiful part of action research is that you use your data. You don't just base whatever you're doing on assumptions and your own subjective thinking. It's practical and it's action oriented. That is why it's action research. After you've gotten your data, you've gotten your information, you then take an action to try to solve the problem. So a lot of times problem solving came in, and practical actions. And of course, while you're trying to solve your problems, you're also reflecting on what the effects of your actions are. You're seeing whether it's positive, you're seeing whether it's leading you to where it wants to lead you to, and you're taking note and recording whatever findings that you're getting. Action research is reflective. So Olatunde already mentioned that research in itself is cyclical. Action research is so much so. You need to reflect, and then you need to take actions, further actions, make further plans based on whatever it is that you have seen from your reflection. And the last one, it is cyclical, it is iterative. So it doesn't ever stop. Yes, there's an end to the research. For example, we finished our research and our research documents to share with you today. But based on our findings, we're taking further actions. We're finding ways to improve further on our classroom. We're sharing our findings with you so that other people can also try to see what we've done that works, that could work for them, and also how they could adapt it for their own individual situation or context. So we are going to be moving on. Steve, over to you.
Steve, you are muted.
Sorry about that. So thanks Rashida, thanks Sarah. So moving on to Ibrahim, who's gonna be sort of developing a bit more about the various strategies of action research. Over to you, Ibrahim.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Ibrahim Ishaya from Nigeria. Want to appreciate my other presenters who have presented so far. We'll quickly talk about how does exploratory practice differ from research and its characteristics. My friend Olatunde has taken us around the clock about what research is. That is a conventional research. Quickly, we want the audience to just put in the chat box, what did you understand by the word exploratory research? Exploratory research. Please, can you just put in the chat box what you understand by exploratory research? Do we have any idea on exploratory research?
I think it might take people a bit of a time, especially if they type in using their phone.
Okay. It's inclusive.
A few seconds to, yeah. So Abel, who said That is a primary investigation to gain insights and understanding of a topic when little is known about it. So we're getting a few more comments as well from both the panelists and the audience. Can you see the comments, Ibrahim?
Yes, I can see them. I can see them. Okay, that is good. Thank you very much. To explore and investigate the problem, yes, that is good. Now, to begin with, exploratory research is, first of all, it precedes action research. That is, as a teacher in the class, within your students, you try to identify, for example, your students are not good in grammar. So you explore by trying to identify what actually is the problem, why they are motivated in learning. They are not motivated in learning grammar. That is, you are exploring your classroom for a research. Then after which you dovetail into action research. So the action research in itself helps us to identify, define the problem more precisely, and then identify specific objectives or data to be able to address through additional research. That is, after you have identified the problem why your students are not so good in grammar, then you swing into an action research. That is to say, exploration comes before action research. When you are able to explore that, you can go into an action research. So in the action research, as I said, you are going to identify what this problem is. You'll be able to define them more precisely and then come up with an objective to be able to address this problem. So according to Swarage 2019, citing Skinner and then Taylor, 1996, page 665 precisely, put it that action research is concerned with developing research skills in order to inform and then develop practice and then promote active learning in contexts where teaching is conceptualized and a problem to be solved. Yes, now action research, these are research that are conducted by professionals. Now it cannot be conducted by someone who is outside the classroom. Most especially, it has to do with the teacher who tries to identify this problem in order to promote active learning in the class in the context of teaching. Then we have another person who is PESA 2016, page 165. Also look at exploratory research as a highly flexible, unstructured, and then qualitative research. So that is to say, in exploratory research, the research is flexible. It is unlike the conventional research where you go trying to review literature. No, in the exploratory research, you do a lot with your learners. All that you need, the information from yourself, your learners, then your colleagues. That is where you explore to get data for the research. Then the action research, just like I earlier said, it follows on from exploratory research. So it's a type of research also that is conducted by professionals in order to investigate a problem in their work. Now, I have mentioned this already, that other research, you may find a researcher who is not in the music industry conducting a research about musicians, but exploratory research has to do with a professional conducting a research in his own field. Like we are teachers, all of the research we have conducted has to do with problems that we have discovered in our classroom. So we explore, then we identify this problem, we investigate them, and then provide solutions to the problem. Now, based on the then deep reflections, we try to come up with ways that we can improve it. And this is one of the areas where it is also different from the conventional research, where a researcher, we conduct a research and then discover a problem, but just put it forward. But in the action research, there are rooms for intervention, evaluation, where we now said, okay, since we have explored, this is what we find out. So this is how this problem can be improved on. If you have identified that, like I started earlier, I talked about grammar, maybe when the students are not doing good in grammar, now you have explored, you have identified the problem. Now you will profile specific solution based on the data you have collected that will help you improve in your own practice, so that you will arouse either the student interest or be able to motivate them to be interested in learning grammar. And then there you have improved your practice as a teacher in the class. Thank you very much. That is what I have to say about exploratory research and then action research. Thank you.
Thanks. Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks, Ibrahim. So we're moving over to talking about where project starts. So talking about ideas. Can we have Olatunde? Olatunde, would you like to lead on this bit?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we've talked about research, the idea of exploratory practice and action research. Now we look at all that we've been saying and we ask ourselves, how do we actually start? Where do we start from? So how does a project start? Or a research, how and where do ideas come from? Now, basically, the whole idea of exploratory action research is to make practitioners researchers. Teachers should also be actively involved in seeking answers to whatever questions that may arise in their classroom. So it's about the classroom. That is why we have that classroom action research. Now, sometimes we use challenges as an euphemism for problems. However, in this type of project or research, the focus is not only on problems. It can be on other things. So if I want to start a project, it's not necessarily the case that there must be a problem in my class or in the classroom before you begin to ask questions. So we generate ideas from different aspects of what we do in our classroom, from management to the subject that we teach precisely, to the manner how we teach ourselves, to the responses of the student, their attitude to learning, and all that. So it is possible for me, for instance, that perhaps after a term or a semester, all my students, say 30 of them, and they got 80 over 100. That's not a problem for me. But it would be good for me to ask questions. What happened? Why was it like that? Everyone 80%. So I may decide that, okay, I want to ask questions. I want to know the reason why I was able to achieve that. Then that is a way to start my research. And after that, I would like to share the same thing with others. So it will mean that, oh, maybe I have a magic wand that can make all my students score 80 in 100. So I'm going to share that with Steve, and I'm going to let Kikelomo have my, either it's a system with a certain methodology that I used. But basically, because, as humans, we tend to concentrate on challenges. So you look at a class, your research could start from your observation of a particular student, perhaps even just one out of the 30 students in your class, or it could be something that is general to all of them. Or you just ask yourself, I've been teaching for the past 5 years. How well am I doing? Even beyond the idea of the grades that your students are able to achieve at the end of each cycle, a semester, a term, or a session. So you want to ask yourself, as a teacher in this classroom, as a practitioner here, how well am I doing? So these are different ways that you can generate ideas to start a research project in your own classroom. Basically, I have to repeat this, that the whole idea about exploratory classroom action research is to make every teacher, active in what we do and not just passive. So whatever you do, you should be able to ask questions around it, observe your student, observe your colleagues, observe your own self. And when you have this observation and you have questions, it doesn't have to be about problems. It doesn't have to be about difficulties. It could just be about even sustaining a good trend in your class. But majorly, we want to identify challenges so that we can turn anything that seems negative into positive. Or when you see positives, you want to sustain it, maintain it, and as well try to improve on it. And as we said, that is the whole idea of research. It's meant to be a cycle, it's meant to renew ideas, to improve our situation in the classroom. So basically, I will say that where or how does a project start? It starts from your personal observation as a teacher in your class. Now, what do you observe? Your student, your practice, your own self, your manner, the character of the student, their responses, their performances, and as well as your colleagues. So everything around your classroom is deserving of your attention when it comes to observation and starting a project. Now, these are where your ideas will also come from. I'm certain that for every teacher, you look at yourself and you shut your eyes now for a few seconds, then have a picture of your classroom. There is that boy or that girl or those set of group of boys or things like that who have something unique about them. It might constitute some challenges for you. And at the same time, it might be something that is actually positive. So if it's positive, you want to ask questions, why is it like that? Why are they doing it like that? How can they keep it up? How can you improve it? So this is the whole idea of the classroom action research. Oh, let me also add one that, please, the materials that we use in class also part of the classroom. So the textbook that you are using can be where the idea will come from. Maybe you have a way to improve the textbook and you want to suggest something to the publishers or anything. So the whole idea is about your classroom and everything and anything that has to do with what happens in your classroom. So I would like to pass it on to for the next slide.
Thanks. Thanks so much. Thanks. So we're moving over to Ahmed, who will be discussing the factors that you need to take into account when refining your project. So over to you, Ahmed.
Okay, thank you so much, Steve. My name is Ahmed Lawal. I'm from Nigeria, and I participated in this action research last year till early this year. From the question, refining the project, the project should be seen in a simple way, because an action research is usually not something broad or not something you should take too broad. It should be something that you should be able to complete at a significant period of time. And you need to consider the time factor, you need to consider the students, you need to consider the resources you have at hand, you need to consider the mobility of the resource person. Like from my own project, I explored the aspect of gender differences in a selected year 9 recommended English textbook. And this is the textbook I use while teaching in Nigeria. So I explored the textbook and I picked a particular aspect of the textbook that relates to my research or that relates to my area of interest. So while after refining the title and making sure that the title is very simple and it's the objective of the title can be achieved at a certain period of time, I considered my students. So what age of the learners do I need to research on? Is it year 9 or year 10 or year 11? So I picked the year 9 students, and I looked at the mobility of my resource person also. So my resource person is actually a nurse, a male nurse, because I was looking at aspect of gender bias, gender differences in the textbook. So I considered the person coming to intervene during the research. So somebody coming from outside Lagos, and you need to look at the time frame, you need to look at the traffic and everything. So all these are considerations that you need to put in place while taking an action research. And also, I also considered my school. So what resources can my school provide during my research? And what supports can they give to me while the research is going on? Of course, I need to take permission from the school if I would need to take some data from the students. So you need to consider all this while refining your project, because it's a statutory organization. It is legal binding. So you have to follow the procedure, the protocol, and also the consent you need to take from the student. My students are underage, and we can't take consent from them directly. So I need to submit a consent form to the students. They took it home, and then they got it signed by their parents that, okay, they can participate in the research. So while taking an action research in the classroom, you need to consider the student from the angle of the parent, whether they want their child to participate in the research or not. So these are just the few factors you need to consider while taking an action research. Thank you.
Thanks, Ahmed. Thanks for your input about your project. So we'll be moving on to Dorcas, who will also share the same based on the on a particular project and the different factors that you need to take into account when refining her research project. Over to you, Dorcas. Sorry, Dorcas, we can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
In everyone. Can you hear me?
There seems to be an echo. I thought you guys were using the microphone earlier.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. It's just that there's an echo from the room.
Is it okay now?
Yes, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead. Yes.
Okay. I said my topic is differences in speaking ability among boys and girls in the classroom. And Ibrahim has said a lot about his own topic. And of course, my factors and his are supposed to be different because we're treating different topics. So my resource persons were my colleagues. Those were the people I considered first because I felt they must have taught the children about in courses that has to do with speaking. So I needed to seek from them the strategies they were using. I needed to know the problems they were facing. I wanted them to give me some ideas on how to carry out the research. And most of them were part of the classroom observation during the research activities. Now, I had to consider, I chose this project because of the inability of my students to speak well in the classroom. This is because I observed that during most of the classes, when you ask them a question during most of the classes, when you ask them a question, you discover that they find it difficult to understand, to say anything. So when this opportunity came for me, I decided to cross-check or to find out the reason why they hardly speak in the classroom. So that prompted me to explore these differences in speaking ability among boys and girls. I consider time and class duration also. On that aspect, I checked the duration of time we learn in the class, and then the duration is going to take me to handle this research project. So I consider time and duration. That's the time frame. Then mobility of the resource persons. Just like I said earlier, my colleagues because I teach in Kaduna State College of Education, Gidanwaya, Kaduna State of Nigeria. So I had to mobilize them. Most of them, I had to talk to them privately and pleaded with them. Even most of them were about to go to their classes. I had to plead with them and then take them to the class in order for them to, I had to think about that before doing that. So when it was time, I mobilized them and went to the class and were doing the class activities while they were observing, which really helped a lot because at the end of the day, most of them gave me their own observations in the class. Then I considered the students. In my college, we have primary school, we have secondary, and we also have the College of Education. Now, I was thinking of taking either the primary or secondary, but I wasn't teaching there. So I now looked at the time frame and the students I was teaching. I also had to consider the courses I was taking. Then I got a class that I was taking one of the courses that has to do with speaking abilities, speaking activities. So it was one of the 100 levels, Group C, which were my focus group. So they were the students I considered to carry on the research with. The another factor was my school. Just like Lawal has said, I had to take permission. Okay. Just as he said, I had to take permission from school, from my own school. I had to write a letter and it was approved. And then I had to talk to my HOD, who gave me his own approval.
That I had to use one project. Every semester expected to be allocated to different classes, but I had to beg them to give me one of these classes in all the semesters in order for me to carry out the research. So it was approved to me, and the school gave me their maximum support during this research work. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Dorcas. So we move to the next bit, which is about the actual questions. So we have Musa, who's going to be sharing his input around the context and what questions he sort of came up with for his own research. Over to you, Musa.
Yeah, I'm here, and thank you, Steve, for giving me the floor. So I would like to thank also all the panelists who have already taken the floor. And this is just to continue in the same way. And me, my project was based on the topic of girls' passivity in classroom. That's because I am teaching in a rural area here in Senegal. And in my school, the reality is that girls are not really active as boys are. And this question was raised particularly in the second, third, and fourth form, because with the first forms, they don't have this kind of problem. It may be related to their age. And I told myself that this is a problem that I have found in my school. But as a teacher of English, of course, I have to find a solution that I will use for myself, but also I will share with my other colleagues from other disciplines or either in English. But for me also, this kind of project was really important for the learners themselves, because it was a problem that was here in the school and in my class, and I couldn't continue giving lessons and stuff and let all the girls behind and doing nothing. It was not possible. That's why when I heard for the project of English Connect, I didn't hesitate. I submit, and fortunately for me, I was accepted. So to conduct this research and in order to find solution and try to help my learners and my other colleagues and to help myself, I had 4 questions, 4 exploratory questions. And the first question was, what do I mean by girls' passivity in the classroom? Because it was clear in my head, but in order to tackle this kind of problem, I was obliged to define all the ways I will have to take in order to come up with a solution. And it should be clear for me, for my learners, and for my colleagues also. Because during that work, I invited my colleagues to either do interviews or answer questionnaires and stuff. So the second question was, how do girls participate in the classroom? I said a while ago, the first idea I get from them was that they are passive, and why they are passive, and how they are working in class. I try to answer this question also, and I'll come later with what I have done with that. And the third question was, what do my students think of their participation in the classroom? Because I had to ask them to tell me what they think about their own participation. Are they really motivated? Are they really active? I mean, boys and girls, because I do at the very beginning, I didn't make a difference between them. And I tried to fix this issue to answer this question. And the fourth and last question was, what do my colleagues think of girls' participation in their classroom? Because here I am in a secondary school. It means that I have a class in English, and there are other teachers who intervene in the same class. So I wanted to know from my colleagues what they think of the girls' participation. Do they have the same idea than I? Or do they have ideas differently? So I asked this question that I wanted to answer during that work. And to conduct this work, I have chosen a third form class to conduct it. Because as I said a while ago, in the first form, we don't have this kind of problem because they are all child, if I can say that, they are all children. So in the second, the third, and the fourth, the problem was there. So I have chosen the third form in order to have this work conducted. And now I will come later about talking about how I did the work and what are the different tools I have used. So thank you very much, dear colleagues.
Thanks so much, Musa, for giving us a brief idea about your questions. So I think that's basically the core of what action research is actually all about. Thanks all panelists for giving us a chance to sort of run through what are the different what you need to do in terms of background, understanding the terminology of research, and then understanding also what reflexive practice is all about. Then digging deeper and exploring what action research is actually all about. The various characteristic of action research, and it was actually nice to actually hear about the ideas, where the ideas can come from. Where Olatunde shared a bit more about his view, expanding it beyond challenges, but just also looking at positive aspect of your classroom that you can obviously replicate in your classroom or in other settings. But also we looked at how you should refine your project in the context that they belong. And Musa finally said a bit more about the questions that actually lead the way to the research, and you actually use these questions to lead to sort of use the different tools that we'll be talking about in the next session. But then these questions are the starting point for everyone who wants to engage in action research for the classroom and beyond. So we have some time for questions. There are a few questions in the Q&A at the moment. Thanks very much, Rashida, for answering some of the questions so far. We have also Sarah, who is also answering, but we would like to open the mic a bit more. So I was wondering if any one of you will be happy to answer one or two questions. There's one for Musa, by the way. Musa, are you available? I think this is something that we've basically covered, but it's just asking the question about whether your research was connected only in your school or did you go beyond. So would you like to maybe answer that question very quickly, Musa?
The research I did it beyond my school, but in my school the level I have chosen was the third form, and for the other schools I sent either a questionnaire to teachers or to do interviews with other students who are in different schools. And if you read the booklet, you will find the different schools I have chosen and the number of students I interviewed and teachers I sent the questionnaire.
Awesome. Thanks, Musa. So there's another question